Markers are such a critical aspect of speed learning and super learning that it's worth going back over them. I want to describe what makes a good marker, and there are a lot of different elements. 1. A good marker is 1 or 2 words which are highly detailed. For example, you wouldn't summarize an entire paragraph as spaceship or moon landing. You would think about the specific detail of the paragraph. For example, Neil Armstrong or Buzz Aldrin. The more detailed and specific, the better. Ideally, you want to remember at least 4 related items from each marker. To give an example, we don't just think of a car. We think of a red Cadillac with black leather and polished wheels. We picture the texture of the leather, the shade of the red, how the sun hits it. We do all this in as much detail as we possibly can. Another important factor is that it's easy to draw the connection between one marker and the next. For example, the marker Neil Armstrong should automatically remind you of Houston, Apollo 11, the American flag, or One Small Step for Man. You see, by using these highly detailed markers, we're able to remember more details with fewer memory points. We create stronger linkages or neural networks between each one of our memory points. It's a great cheat because if we go from the details back to the original concept, that works great. But if I tell you the original concept, for example, moon landing, you might forget the details. So we focus on memorizing those details, and we can reverse engineer the overall concept and meaning and context from them. Another great aspect of a good marker is that you're easily and quickly able to convert it into an image. For example, I can quickly convert DNA into an image of a double helix, but I personally cannot create an image for genetics. That's a hard concept to visualize, and so I go with the double helix. Another important thing to remember: if the paragraph you're reading presents a problem and a solution, or a conflict and a resolution, it's always better to remember the solution or resolution, never the question. If you have the solution, for example, a broken up Germany, you can remember where the conflict or the problem came from. In this case, World War II. You should try to create a marker for every single important detail. For example, people, dates, formulas, events, but this isn't all. You should have 2 to 4 markers per paragraph, depending on the density of the material and the length of the paragraph. This works out to be about 10 to 20 markers per page. Now, you won't always create that many, and you certainly won't always remember that many, but that's fine. It's better to be mindful and create all of these markers for significant details you wish to remember. This way, if I forget one of my markers, I can reverse engineer it, like we said before. Again, we'll be able to reverse engineer and remember other markers if we have sufficiently detailed and connected markers. It's going to take time, and you're going to have to practice to create high-quality markers quickly. You'll know your markers are improving when you're able to summarize and deduct the entire meaning of a concept or story simply by recalling the long list of markers you have.
Now, that was quite a bit to take in, and so let's review what we've learned about high-quality markers. First and foremost, high-quality markers represent details, not overall concepts, and we can describe them in 1 to 2 words. Number 2, high-quality markers are themselves included with rich details, such as colors, textures, and so on. Number 3, high-quality markers are clearly and logically interconnected to one another, both backwards and forwards. Number 4, high-quality markers emphasize outcomes or resolutions, not questions or initial conflicts. And lastly, high-quality markers come in great numbers. The more the merrier.
Now, choosing good and detailed markers will allow you this reverse engineering. We're using the bottom-up method instead of the top-down, and it's easier to remember these details and then deduct how we arrived. In the course notes, you're going to find a game or exercise that I want you to try. They're going to give you a few images and then swarm them in a bunch of other images, and you're supposed to remember which ones were the remembered images. Try this doing it without markers or detail, and then try encoding each one of these images. If there's an image of a rabbit, think of a childhood friend who had a rabbit and picture playing with that rabbit. Try again and see how much more effective you are when you carefully encode details. Play with this for 10 minutes a day until you see a really dramatic improvement. It'll really help when we get to speed reading.